Hello, welcome back. So this is the P38 Lightning. We are just south of Lake Tahoe. Plan is I've managed to get hold of one of the original 1930s pilot's manuals, so we'll start up using that. I've got the manual that came with it from FlyingIrons. And then once we've got it started, it is a bit of a bugger to start, but once we've got it started, we'll do some of the demo flight that comes with that manual. And then after that we'll switch to live weather because the weather's miserable up here at the minute in the snow, and we'll see how we get on navigating using the old map and pencil and compass as they would have done in this era, because there's no GPS in these obviously. Comes with loads of different liveries. We've got an interesting one on called Marge. I'm guessing this is the original pilot's love interest or wife perhaps. Don't know the full story of it, but it's a nice one, so I put this one on. But it does come with loads of different ones. As you can see, and as you would expect from FlyingIrons, it's really, really nicely done. The textures on the cockpit are insanely good. The outside's good, but the inside is where FlyingIrons shine. It's very well modelled as well. Like for example, if you do a slow roll right, you can damage the undercarriage door. You have to roll left. If you over prime the engines, you have to sit there for 10 minutes with the throttle open before you can do anything, because they just won't restart. So it's very, very well modelled. Let's jump inside and show you the cockpit. So here is the original pilot's manual, circa 1930 something, from the US Air Force, or well, it would have been US Army at that stage. I will flick through it really quick because it is a massive document, but it's very interesting. It's available online, anyone can get hold of it. This is the piggyback setup, so your instructor would sit, or your assessing pilot would sit behind you there. Fascinating stuff. It's very different when you compare it to the modern ones. I've got the Tornado one, which is, to be fair, a lot thicker. I suppose it's a much simpler aircraft. Yeah, I'll whip through it. I do like these funky graphics that they're putting them. Yeah, it's very cool. Took me quite a while to read through this, if I'm honest. What was that? Oh, there you go. We spoke about compressibility. Use of the dive flaps. Just shows you how the airflow has to be disrupted by those flaps so that you can regain control. Fascinating stuff. So this is the cockpit. As you can see, if I just lean forward into that yoke, just look at that, the way the light shines off it, the weathering on it, it's just fantastic. FlyingIrons are so good at the cockpits. Yeah, I mean the outside's good, but it has, like, if I look out onto the wing, you can see some of the rivets. Not that impressive, but the inside is just. Let me get rid of this yoke. Lean in. It's very, very good. So a couple of things about the cockpit. Didn't originally have sound for the canopy when it first came out, but now they have added the sounds. Nice little touch, and you've got these side windows. The FlyingIrons tablet is down there. I'll go through that in just a second, but if you need to find it, that's where it is. It's the usual FlyingIrons tablet, same as all the other ones. Okay, if we go left to right on the cockpit, you've got fuel, everything to do with your fuel pumps, your fuel tanks. Above that, you've got your drop controls, basically for your bombs and your tanks. The next console there has got essentially everything that's going to make you go. It's got your props, your throttle. Just close that actually. Why is that open? Your mixture, everything you need essentially. Just make sure they're all back. And your trims further down there. Coming across the main panel, fuel is on the left, so fuel warning and your fuel gauges. Compass up to the top there. Your navigation systems. When I say systems, it's essentially just a few compasses. This was very much old school navigation. Your gyro gauges in the middle, engine gauges to the right. All your electrical switches, power switches, flap controls are all in the centre. Over to the right, you've got the main wing flaps and your radio. I don't really like the radio because that is not period appropriate. Can't find an option to get rid of it or change it. So I think you are stuck with that, which is a bit annoying because it is not accurate. Fuses are obviously, oh, interesting. Flaps just moved by themselves. Obviously you've got all your fuse switches, your breakers down there on the right. And that is pretty much the cockpit. We'll take the head tracking off while we're doing the cold start, and I'll use the hotkeys to move around the cockpit because it's just a bit easier on the stomach, won't make you feel as ill. It's quite a good view from this cockpit as well, although once we get it closed you'll see the sidebar does get in the way a little bit. The only problem you have is sometimes having to look around these great big engines. But let's get it started up so you can have a little look. We'll just take the head tracking off quickly, and then if I show you the tablet, oops. You'll remember it from any of the other FlyingIrons because it's exactly the same. So you've got your first page is all your checklists. This is the useful page. It's got all your speeds that you need. So for example, takeoff speed 94 miles an hour. That's interesting. I've never, maybe because I fly heavy, but I've not managed to get it off at that speed before. But anyway, yeah, that's all your speeds in both miles per hour and knots. Live data, we'll do this on the gauges, but should you want to see it digitally, you can pop on here and see it. Stats once you get going. Loadout, so loadout, you can add drop tanks and you can drop them using that panel that I spoke about before, and they will drop off, which is quite cool. So if you've got a long range flight to do, autopilot, if you're that way inclined, but it's not something we'll be using because it's obviously not period appropriate. Workshop, as with all the FlyingIrons, if I come back to that page actually, if you have dynamic engine stressors on, these will all come down, and if you have a bad landing, for example, you'll damage tyres and wheels and things like that. So you have to keep an eye on it and repair it. So you can see, because I've done a few flights since its last inspection, there's a little bit come off the, and I've just clicked on it, so it's done the 24-hour inspection. But that's how you repair them. You just click on them. See the vacuum pump had a tiny little bit there. The alternator looks like it needs. There you go. So they'll obviously change colour and get lower and lower. We'll leave the dynamic stressors on. You can add a Garmin should you wish up here. Obviously we're not going to because they didn't have those around these around the time we're flying. You can put a gun sight, but it's not very good. Just pops up there. I'm not going to have that on because it just gets in the way. It's probably about the only thing they have. I think they haven't textured in very well. Yoke is very, very nicely textured, but we won't put that on until we've done the cold start, just so you can see the controls a bit better. If you don't like using the World War II pilot, you can use the default one, and then obviously you can request pushback through the tablet if you want. So that is the tablet. Let's get it started. So these are the hotkeys, the layout that we've got. I'm just using the default one. C obviously stands for control, so you press control 9, for example, and you'll zoom in on the gauges at the top here, top corner. Like I say, I haven't changed them, I've just used the ones that are set out. So quick run through. C1 is your main panel. C2 is your it's got all your ignition switches, your electrical switches like your lights, your compass, all your flap, like oil flaps and shutters and things are on there as well, and your feathering controls. C3 is essentially everything that makes you go. It's your throttle, your propeller, your mixture, your air filter, and your landing gear. C7 is just the bombs and tanks drop panel. C6 is your fuel panel. You can't see it there, but you can just actually see the gauge. It's your fuel tanks, and behind that is your fuel boost control. C5 is your trim and oxygen, and C4 it does your flaps, aileron boost, which is just outside there, or just out of the box there, and your radio. So that is the hotkeys that we're going to be using. Right, so our pre-flight checks. We're going to leave canopy open until we've got the engine started, just in case we get a fire and have to abandon. So first thing we're going to do is press Control 5, come down and adjust our rudder trim and our elevator trim, which is here and here. Mine are already adjusted, so I don't need to worry about doing anything with them. Check our oxygen is off, which it is. If it was turned on, I'll just turn it on quickly. You'll see it blinking there. Once that's done, come over to the left, check the fuel boost pumps are off and in the normal position, and that your fuel tanks are on the reserve tank. There we go. They will stay on the reserve tank when we take off. They don't go to normal until you're in flight. That was the standard practice of the day. Next, Control and 7. Check that your bombs and tanks are all switched off. Next, Control and 3. Props are shut down, throttle's closed, mixture's closed, air filter's closed. The pitch controls, these don't work. They should be in auto, but they're not modelled. It's pretty much the only thing I think in the entire plane that's not modelled, just about. But you don't need to worry about them because they're not modelled. Next, Control and 5, and we check our feather switches. Make sure they're both down and closed. Next, we check the clock is set, and it is 5 to 1 in the afternoon. We haven't got it on live weather for this, just got it nice and sunny. Next, we go Control and 4. We check our flaps are fully up, which they are. Aileron boost is off, which is this one here. That originally wasn't modelled when it came out, but they've added that on, which is quite good. Check radio's off. We won't be using that at all. And then check that the parking brake is set. Good. And that is pre-flight checks complete, ready to start. Okay. Starter checks. We're going to come Control and 2 and switch on the battery. You see all the volts gauge come up. Next, we're going to turn on the master ignition and the magnetos, both sides. Then we're going to turn the generators on. Recover the switches. Next, come down to fuel, which is Control 6. Turn on the master switches, and we'll leave them in normal for now, but just before we take off, we need to put the fuel pumps into emergency. You run them on emergency for takeoffs, and then put them back to normal. Next, come forward and put the props fully forward. Mixture to rich, and crack the throttle, and it is just a crack. You don't need a huge amount. We'll open the air filter as well while we're here. Next, this is the point where we'll shout clear prop. Check left and right, make sure that no one is there, because you're about to start these massive great engines. Now next, what we've got to do next is prime them, and that's with these two switches here. Now they've modelled this so well that if you prime it for a second too long, your engines won't start for sort of 10 minutes, and you've got to sit there with the throttle fully open doing nothing for 10 minutes while they drain out again. So less is more. So under prime it, try to start it. If it doesn't work, prime it a bit more. If you over prime it, that's it. You sat here for ages, which is really irritating. So let's get us into a position where you can see engine and switch. There we go. And we're going to start with the right engine, so we'll pull the switch towards us. 1 and 2 and release. And then these are your starter switches. You start first and then you engage the engine towards you for the right engine, away from you for the left engine. So and then start. Not enough, so we'll prime it a bit more. There we go, right engine started. Now we want it about 10,000 RPM. So we'll just reduce that throttle a little bit. You can see R for right engine, L for left engine, same on the manifold pressure. There, that is ideal. So to the left engine. Same again, we're going to prime it first. 1 and 2 and 3, release. Then we're going to push the next two switches away from us. You obviously won't hear it now because of the sound of the right engine. That should be enough. Engage. And release. Should hopefully come up to about 10,000 RPM as well. Perfect. So we now have a good start on both left and right engines, and we're ready to do our after start checks. Okay, so we're ready to do our after start checks. We'll start by closing the canopy. Good. Next is right hand side, check the radio. We're not going to be doing anything with it. Check the flaps are up. Yes, they are. Next, turn our compass on, which I've already done. It's this switch just here. You just push that forward. Next, the flaps and shutters. Oil cooler flaps, leaving automatic. Pitot heat. We'll have that on. It's not that cold, but we'll have it on anyway. Don't need to do anything with the override coolant flap switches. Just leave them in the position they're in, and then intercoolers, drop them down to the open position on both the left and the right. And then if you're flying at night, there's your cockpit lights just there on the right. Next, do a fuel low warning test. So you just push that lever forward, you get your two lights. If they pop up in flight, you've got 10 minutes of fuel remaining at cruising speed. Instrument check next. All instruments are uncaged, and look like they're reading normal. So next we'll test the magnetos. So with parking brake applied, we'll just run the engine up gently to about 26,000 RPM. There we go, and what we can do is turn them off one at a time. We'll start with the left, and you should see the needle brake because we're losing some RPM. So see it's dropped there for the left. So that one's working fine, and then test the right. Perfect, that one's working fine. So leaving it at 26,000 RPM just for a second. There you go, leaving it at 26,000 RPM for a second. We'll just have a look at the temperatures. So checking the gauges, we're looking for an oil temperature of 43 or above, which it's actually running a bit high, but that's because we're revving the engines. That'll come down in a sec. And then we're looking for fuel pressure of 75 psi, which is just about, it's in the green on both, so that's fine. We're looking for coolant temperature of 85, running a little bit high, but that's because we've got the engines revved up at the moment. Not drastic. Fuel pressure again is in the green. Hydraulic pressure over here on the left, we're looking for 1100 to 1400, and that's fine there. So that is our after start checks. We'll just bring our throttle back down to 10,000. Good. Make sure nothing changes. As you can see, the oil pressure's dropped. That's just because we've just reduced the throttle so much. Manifold pressure's good. All temperature's good. We are ready to run up and taxi. So we will check our harness. Yeah, that's good. Check the canopy's locked. Done. Turn on the aileron boost. Done. Switch the fuel pumps on to emergency, ready for takeoff. Fuel tanks should be on the reserve, not the main. There we go. Turn on our drop tank switches. We're not going to carry any drop tanks today, but it's good practice. And then check our throttle, prop, and mixture. Everything's good. So we are, check my list, we are ready for taxi. So one other thing I wanted to show you just before we go. One thing the Lightning suffered with was it's so aerodynamic, it picked up so much speed in a dive that the air pressure, I think they called it compression, would prevent the flight surfaces from working, so dives could become unrecoverable. So to combat that, you've got this little switch here, and if you press that switch, you'll see these dive flaps deploy from the wings that essentially just break up the shape of the wing, increase the drag rather, so the pilot can then recover control, hopefully. There we go. So get rid of the yoke again, so the control for that is on the yoke. Okay, right. Let's park and brake off. So if you've got multiple throttles, you can set them up for the individual engines, and it makes taxiing so much easier. Likewise, if you've got proper rudder pedals, you can use left and right braking, whereas my rudder pedals are broken at the moment, so I'm relying on the twist stick, which is not as good. It's doable, but it's better if you've got proper pedals. So we're gonna cut off half the runway because we don't need it. We'll take off nice and short. Just keep an eye on those lights. Yeah, we're good. Okay, with our foot on the brake, one last check of everything. Fuel pump set to emergency, fuel tanks on reserve. Throttles are idle, props are forward, mixture's fully rich, air filters open. Feather switches caged, flaps closed. Oxygen is on. Gauge is all reading normal. Canopy's closed and locked. Good to go. So, gently up through the throttle. Up to max throttle. That's 100, so we should be able to take off there. It said 93 in the checklist. Yep, that is coming up. Tap of the brakes. And gear up. We're established in the climb. We will take the fuel pumps back to normal, and we'll switch the fuel tanks over to the main. What we're going to do is loop round the Lake Tahoe just to get ourselves into a decent altitude. Next, we're going to pull the props back. Reduce the mixture back to auto rich. Set the throttle for about 25 to 26,000 RPM. And then gently climb. I want the manifold pressure below 50, ideally it wants to be around 44. It's about right there. Now it's just a case of gaining our altitude, getting into position, and then we'll start doing some manoeuvres. A lovely day over Lake Tahoe today. There's the airfield there. Keep that in sight. It's a nice plane to just cruise around in. This one, it's comfortable to fly. It's not overly stressful. The stressful part's getting it started. So that'll about do for our altitude. So before we start our manoeuvres, we'll pop ourselves back onto the emergency fuel pumps. Give it some with the props, push them fully forward, same with the mixture. Now we're going to start a gentle left turn to start with, just to bring us back so we're not too far away from the runway. First manoeuvre we're going to do is the loop. In fact, no, we'll do a roll first while we're getting back into position. Keep an eye on our speed, 250. So we'll just tighten up this roll, this turn rather. Want to be heading back towards the airfield ready for when we do the loop, because we'll use the runway as our linear marker. Okay, so there's the runway. So simple roll. As the manual says, we must do it to the left, not to the right, so that we don't damage our front gear door. Nice, very stable, very, very stable. No problems at all with that. Beautiful. And we'll just reduce throttle back and props back just while we get lined up with the runway. Next we're going to do a straightforward loop. Use the runway as our marker. We are a little bit low, but I'm confident we can pull it off. There we go, lined up nicely. So forward on the props, mixture, and give it some on the throttle. 250 miles per hour. Runway's just off the nose, so we'll dip it down, approach 300. There's 300. Back on the stick. Head up, looking for the horizon. There's the horizon. Stay in line with the runway. And there we go. No problems with the roll. Now we'll go straight into an Immelman set. Sorry, the loop. We'll go straight into an Immelman, which is a roll off the top of a loop. Hit 300 again. Back on this yoke. The horizon, there it is. Level her out and then roll left. And there's your Immelman. Lovely. No dramas with that. Back on the props. Reduce the mixture. Ease the throttle. Get that manifold pressure back down. There we go, lovely. Everything looks good. Yeah, no problem with anything there. So next we'll just do the two stalls, power on stall and the power off stall. So if we do power off stall first, get a little bit more altitude because I'm conscious we are fairly low. Stalls just under 100 miles per hour, that is obviously. Okay, that looks good there. So right, power off stall, I'm going to pull the throttle right back to idle cut off. Keep the nose up. Up on 100. Yeah, that's starting to go now. That is yokes people full back, fully back. Trying to fight it. Starting to tip to the left. And there we go. So regain the horizon, let go of the stick. Let the speed pick up. And then throttle back. Start to pull her out. There we go, stall recovered. So just turn us away from the runway, keeps over the water. This time we'll do a power on stall. So very similar, other than the fact that we're going to keep the throttle fully open. do us there. So throttle's fully open. Don't want to be doing this for long because we're really pushing the manifold pressure now. I'm at 150. Start to hear the noise change in the engine. It's dropped below 100. That is yoke fully back, and we're rolling to the right this time. So it's full stall, letting go of the controls. Back to 150, 200. Gain the horizon. Reduce the throttle because our speed is up around 300. Keep orientated to the airfield, which is there. Good. And that is fully recovered, back in control. RPM's good, manifold pressure's good. Nothing concerning. Lovely. And that is your 2 stalls. So this is so much fun to fly. It's a really nice plane to fly this. So last thing we're going to do, we are going to kill an engine. Now because I haven't got mixed throttle, I haven't got a 4-stick quadrant, I can't reduce the thrust on just one. So what I can do is take the prop pitch all the way off. As you can see, that's drastically cut the RPMs. Feather the right engine as if it's failed. So at this point, if we were suffering from this and it was not through our own doing, we're going to be calling up, letting them know that we want to land, and we want to land quite urgently. And we're going to start to turn in towards the airfield. See, I'll show you what happens if I pull the throttle back on just one engine. Yeah, it just jumps back by itself, unfortunately, because I haven't got the 4 quadrants. And there you see it's feathered and it's fully stopped. So we'll put the prop fully forward on the good engine, mixture fully forward, because this is the only thing that's keeping us in the air now. Throttle's fully open. We're going to start to try and get ourselves orientated to the runway. Okay, we've got 250 miles per hour at the moment. Altitude should be enough to get us in. We'll leave our gear up for now because that's going to create a lot of drag. We've declared an emergency. We've got a runway in sight. Our remaining engine is humping it. Its manifold pressure is well high. RPMs are too high. But it's doing the work of 2 engines, so it's gonna have to do it. Now you can just restart the engine, but we're going to try an emergency landing. Coming in on 1. So if you look up here, you've got, to remind you, flaps 150 and landing gear 176. So we've still got 250 miles per hour in us at the moment, so we can start coming off the throttle. Handles so differently on one engine. And we're going to have to put the gear down early because we haven't got enough thrust for a go around. We are committed. Gears down. Flaps. The nose kicked right up then. We are coming in high. Just wants to pull so much with only one engine. Bit of flare. There we go. And because we are an emergency, we won't be taxiing off. We'll literally just dump it to the side of the runway so they can get fire crews to it. And we will, as quick as you can, unlock the canopy. And we'll shut down the remaining engine. And there you go. We would be jumping out, legging it at this point. Had that been a real failed engine, just so they can come and make sure it's not going to catch fire. But yeah, considering we're on one engine, I like it's nicely modelled there, the way it feathers the props as well. So that is the demo manual from the original, well, the original demo manual that pilots were issued. Let's try our hand at a bit of navigation next. So this is the route we're going to try and take. We're obviously parked up south Lake Tahoe. Tell I'm hungry. Lake Tahoe. We're going to head southeast. We'll have a bit of fun going through the mountains here. We've got a mountain range, you can see by the pink markers. We're going to whip through those. Try and stay roughly on course. We'll keep an eye on the compass, and then we'll be looking for visual markers. So we've got plenty of airfields either side that we can pick up on. I'll obviously have the map on my lap with this pencil line that I've drawn on. This will be a big queue, this one here, because it's a runway that leads into the reservoir. So that'll be quite handy to pick up on. And also this one's obviously a massive reservoir or lake with the islands actually inside it and the runway there. And then hopefully we should pick up on US 93. This road, this major road here, somewhere around that visual marker, and then we can pretty much follow that all the way to the runway because it passes right next to it. So if we're lucky enough to pick that up, that'll be golden. We can just follow that all the way in then, and we can get we even use it for our lineup, which would be ideal. But failing that, we've got the oh, I've just zoomed too far out. There we go. Failing that, we've got the large lake to the left and just beyond. So that is the route we're going to take. I will close this down so we won't look at it again until the end, see how we get on, and I'll just use the paper copy that I've got with the pencil line drawn on it and see how we get on. What's the worst could happen? Right then, let's get taken off. We've got the lake straight ahead of us, so we know we're going to have to do a right turn pretty much straight away. Let's stop talking about it, let's get on with it. Yoke squeaking a bit. Positive climb, tap the brakes, gear up. Straight into the right turn. Going to be even harder with this weather. Props back to cruise. Mixture back to cruise, to auto rich. I'll leave the throttle on just for a little bit longer. Okay, we can start to reduce the throttle, bring that manifold pressure down. That's good there, ideal. Still gives us enough to climb. It doesn't put too much pressure on the engine. Get a visual on the runway one last time. There it is. Lovely. Here's our mountain ranges. Right, let's have a little bit of fun through the mountains. We'll drop it down and we'll do a bit of low level. Okay, so I've got that lake, so I'm happy I'm pretty much still on course. Can now come off the emergency fuel pumps because we're well established in the climb. Fuel tanks have been switched over to main. Weather's not as bad as it's been actually, it's been awful recently. Might, if we're lucky, just get this taxiway. Yep. Look at that. Smooth as silk. We should obviously stop here at the stop short, but we're not going to. Clear left and clear right. Get ourselves off the runway out. There's a fueling bay. We'll stick ourselves in there. Oops. And then it's just a case of props back, throttle back, mixture back rather. Make the yoke disappear, and then shut down the fuel pumps. Fuel pumps off. Make sure that's turned off, the bombs and tanks. Yep. So throttles back, props back, mixtures back, air filter's turned off. Master ignition switch off, magnetos off. Ooh. And then aileron boost off. Radio off. Check the flaps are up. Yep, flaps up. There we go. And then shut down the generators. Douche and douche. And then switch off the battery. And there you go. That is the P38 Lightning navigated old school, and we've landed, hopefully, I think this is the right airfield, we've landed where we wanted to. Let's have a look at the map, see if we managed it. There we go, that's not too bad, I don't think. So if we zoom in on where we started from, you can see we've gone through the mountains, we've had a bit of fun there, picked up on the airfield as our visual marker, stayed relatively on course, and then sort of once we've cleared the mountain range, sorted ourselves out as we've come through the training area, stayed adjacent to our course, so we were heading southeast, picked up that great visual marker there and that one there, and that's when we've brought ourselves in line. We've started to configure and get ourselves orientated towards the runway, and you can see that is definitely the point where we've picked up the road. Oh, where is it? Yeah, sort of along as we've passed this airfield is where we've picked up that road, followed that road pretty much bob on because we know it passes literally right next to the runway, and used it to line ourselves up quite nicely. So yeah, I don't think that's bad for map and compass. Map, compass and a pencil. That's not bad at all. I know it would have been a lot harder for them at whatever altitude they're at, especially with the weather and stuff, but for a first attempt I'm quite happy with that.